Well, the fact that you have a so-called meritocracy, the best person for the job played out in sport, which is subjective, which is objective, you see it, you can evaluate it, right? You put two people on a 100-yard dash, you see who wins, right? You know, people of color have tended to do better in environments that are objective, meaning they're not disputable. An English paper is subjective. You don't know what's in the mind of the evaluator. So because of racism and stereotyping and all of that, people of color and women and trans and sexual orientation are all vulnerable to whatever biases the evaluator has. But when you bring it into something objective like sport, who won the game? Who got the most points? Who was the fastest? Who won? Who got the touchdown, right? People of color tend to do better because they don't have to navigate the bias of the evaluator, right? So in that case, sport is a meritocracy, meaning the best people rise to the top. So that's not a problem that's predominantly one race or the other. There's a cause for that, but it's not a problem, right? That's an outcome of America's racism. And so that's not a problem. Now, it will become a problem if the people of color who generate the revenue, who create the entertainment, don't also then commodify that to their own empowerment. Almost all ethnic groups have something that they master, right? That's why if you go to a certain kind of community, a certain ethnic group dominates this particular market. They dominate this particular industry. They dominate this particular production, right? That's by intentionality, where people say, hey, we have a certain expertise, we have resources, we can import, we have this nuclear network, we can get a loan from here, and they build an industry, right? Hotels represent that, nail shops represent that, hair shops represent that, right? So ethnic groups dominating industries is not uncommon. The fact that African Americans are dominating entertainment, to include hip hop, music, R&B, all that kind of stuff, but they cannot just be the labor force. They got to commodify that to their own benefit. So the problem would be if the people who are the mass amounts of representation, if they don't then trickle into the leadership level, why is that? That has to have some undertones of racial nuance, right? If 70% is your hoop game or players, and yet your coaches are not somewhat near reflective of that, the 70% didn't have the acumen to then become the leader of it in the coach format, and then that translates to the GMs and to ownership and all those kinds of things. If we're not sophisticated enough to take the industry we dominate and then be represented in all ranks of it to include high levels of ownership, then we're short-sighted. Then we're in a labor mentality versus an industry that this particular ethnic conclave, this particular community, has their full set of hands-on at all levels, from sales of popcorn to the distribution of stocks related to their ownership. That would be a problem if that doesn't occur.